Yo, YouTube. What's up? Um, First off, yeah, it's been a stressful day, to say the least. Um, but I want to come in here and give you guys a video real quick, and girls, and whoever else is watching the video. I want to give y'all a video real quick, and just really, I want to discuss on some things that I just read. I kind of apply to my day, um, and just other aspects of life and stuff like that. So, as I told y'all before a couple videos ago, currently reading Brianna Brown. Can't get enough of this lady. This lady's awesome. She has a YouTube on vulnerability that was just freaking fabulous. So I'm reading Brianna Brown, her Rising Strong book. Um, what the chapter I'm reading on is titled "The Rumble," and it's talking about going into the conversations we have with ourselves when we fall down. So when she says fall down, she basically means when we fail. So there's a quote that she likes. I forget who it was from, but there's a quote that she likes, who says that who says the something about the respect doesn't go to the spectators in the crowd who are talking about the person in the arena. The respect goes to the person in the arena who is face down because they put in the effort to try, right? And when you put in the effort to try, sometimes you're bound to get knocked down. So she's talking about how can you rise back up strong, right? Okay, so this is the rumble. So this is saying when we fall down, um, we tell ourselves a story, and the number one goal of the story we tell ourselves is self-preservation, is to feel better about ourselves uh, for falling. So usually the story we tell ourselves is not the truth, right? So usually the story we tell ourselves does not hold us accountable. It does not give us um, any reflection on what really happened. Is basically, you know, trying to preserve our feelings. That's what the work of what she considers called the ego is. Our ego is there to protect us, how we feel, and protect our feelings. So so when we lash out, when we throw hurt back at people, that's our ego blocking it and throwing it back, right? Um, so these are the stories that our ego tells us when we first hit the ground and our face is planted on the arena floor. Our ego tells us certain stories that aren't full truths about what happened, so that we can feel better about ourselves. They're usually something along the line of I did all I could. It's the other person's fault. They're choosing this to me. It's not my fault. I didn't do anything. They're trying to start something. I wasn't trying to start anything. Um, it's these sort of things that we tell ourselves in the moment that tries to help us. She says that if we do fall down and immediately we check ourselves and stuff like that, we're either an anomaly or we're not giving the full truth. So anyway, part of that, what she said is we make conspiracies and confabulations, and I'll get to the second one in a minute. But basically, she said we make conspiracies, and conspiracy, from what she um, basically uh, just defines it, is just a story that isn't based on all the facts. Um, as humans, she mentions that there are neurobiologists who study this that show that when we come to conclusions, we get a rush of dopamine. So, so when we come to conclusions, that's kind of like a story. When we have a beginning, middle, and end of a story that we tell or we hear, we get a release of dopamine. Our brains are wired to make things make sense, and when we make it make sense, we get a release of dopamine, so it feels good, so we feel better about ourselves. And so this leads to people making stories uh, to understand things that aren't based in reality. So not that the thing isn't based in reality, but the story isn't based in reality. So for instance, earlier today I made a conspiracy. Okay, I was texting somebody in the morning, and it took me a while to text them back, and then it took them an extremely long time to text me back. So I was trying to make it make sense in my brain. And so I came up with a story that said this person is mad that I didn't text back immediately, and so now they're not texting me back for an extended period of time. So that was a conspiracy. So that wasn't the truth. That wasn't based off of any evidence that was around. I didn't ask that person, hey, why are you taking so long, or anything. Like, it wasn't based on anything, but it was a conspiracy that I made up in my own brain to make the fact of them not texting me back make sense to me, right? Could have been anything. I could have said the person lost their phone, or got kidnapped, or whatever. No, I decided that what made the most sense to me was I messed up, so now they're punishing me because I didn't text back quick enough. So that made the most sense to me. Why that made the most sense to me, that's something that I'll have to look into. But that made the most sense to me. So that was a conspiracy. So I made up a conspiracy earlier today. All right. Let's see. Oh yeah, and that goes back to when I made it up. No, it didn't feel good, right? But 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 it helped me to understand something that was going on in the world, even though that the explanation was completely wrong, right? Um, then she talks about uh, confabulations, right? And confabulation is a term used in the medical or social worker field that says, I'm reading it right now. So it says that when they're talking about dementia or brain injury, sometimes causes people to replace missing information with something false that they believe is true, right? And this will happen to. They're saying that this will happen to regular people. Regular people will confabulate things when they're missing information. They'll add information that isn't true to, again, make it make sense. So instead of making a conspiracy based off of missing information, they're actually making up information to make it make sense. Is what I understood about it. So I'm trying to find choice. Yeah. Okay. So this one they talked about how basically these group of people, the scientists took this group of people, put them in a department store, and gave them a choice of different socks, and said, "I want y'all to pick one out of these 7 socks." So everybody picked a sock, and then they asked everybody, "Why'd you pick that sock?" And every single buddy had an answer. Every single one of them had an answer of why they picked the sock, and each one of the answers was a little bit different. But everyone talked about, oh, the shade was a little bit different than the other ones. I think they were like all white socks or whatever, but let's just say they're all white socks. They were like, oh, this shade was eggshell and that's off white and I like this better. Or the other one was like, oh, this thread count felt like it was more, or this one felt like it would be more cushiony. No one said, I don't know why I made the choice. That's just the choice I made. No one said that. Everyone made a what they consider a logical reason of why they chose that sock. Now, that was a confabulation. And why is because each one of those socks were identical. Each one of those socks were exact same, out of the exact same pair, exact same sock. Each one of those socks were exactly identical. And instead of, just saying, oh, I don't know, I just picked that one there because I like number 3 or something, right? They all made a logical sense in their mind, and they made up a story to confabulate. So the stories were confabulated. So they were lies, right? But they were honestly told. So, geez. So I'm sure I got an example of this. I know I've done this before. I don't know. I can't think of an exact example at this moment. But basically it's okay. There you go. I got a good example. It's if you've been watching forever, if you've been watching the channel for a while ago, I made a confabulation about the girl I'm with. So I said some things that basically they made sense to me. So something happened in the relationship, and I confabulated on why it happened, right? And so I made it basically I told the story, and it was honest to me. I was telling the truth, but the truth was wrong, right? It was honestly coming from me, but it was untrue. So another thing she said, regardless of how honest I was conveying it, this was an untruth. So I confabulated some stuff by 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 basically like making it make sense, right? Um, Gee, that's what I got out of it. I guess I need to read it again and double get into it, right? And see if I can get something else out of it. But yeah, so conspiracy to me, from what she was saying, was well, basically what she was saying was making stories connect in a way to understand what's going on, releases dopamine. So regardless if those stories are right or wrong, whether they're a conspiracy or a confabulation, um, it helps us to understand and explain the world around us or the situation we're in, and even if it's wrong, um, it makes us feel better because it releases dopamine. So what she's saying is that we really need to stop. We really need to stop deciphering the world on our own, or deciphering actions of other people on our own, to make it make sense, and then leaving it there, or getting upset or whatever by leaving it at that point. That we need to dive back into that and ask ourselves, why are we trying to solve the issue of why someone else did this? What sort of feeling did that make us feel? And 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 basically work through that feeling in ourselves, instead of shifting it and putting the focus on why that person did it. We should more so work on how our feelings are affecting us, and yeah, and what that emotion made us feel, what that emotion was, and how that made us feel. So, for instance, I guess this morning I should have, instead of trying to think of why this person wasn't texting, I should have just sat with the uncomfortable feeling of not being texted back, and asked myself why that's such a big deal. Because if I was able to ask myself, why is it such a big deal I'm not being texted back, I could have answered by saying, because I feel like I'm being ignored. But why do you feel like you're being ignored? Because I feel like I didn't text back fast enough. But why do you think that would lead you to be ignored? Because I feel like I'm not giving enough. So why would that make you feel like you're being ignored or upset that you're not giving enough? Because I feel like I'm not good enough. Ooh, you caught that? Yeah. So maybe my conspiracy had nothing to do with the other person, which of course it didn't. It all had to do and stem back to what we talked about yesterday: my insecurities of not being good enough. I wasn't good enough to hit back on that text immediately. I missed it this morning, and feeling bad that I wasn't good enough, I then placed blame on someone else for action that they weren't even doing. Sounds about right. Anyway, maybe I should tell this person that. Anyway, check it out. I appreciate y'all listening, being my therapist for the day. I'll just talk this out with myself. But anyway, good ass book. Glad I'm reading it. Y'all check in tomorrow. I'll keep in touch on what's going on with my life. Much love, peace, and be safe on purpose.